Jerry, could you please talk to me about the current roster? Thanks.
Dak has enjoyed in his career that we're proud of some of the best supporting cast that you could put around him. And to move forward, we're going to have to diminish that. That's a fact. That's the rules. We're very proud of our personnel, very proud of this roster. We're very, very feel good about the promise of the team that we're going to have this year with this roster. We feel great about what we've been in free agency. All in. All in. All in. We're all in with these young guys coming up.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got this straight before I come to you, RC. So essentially he's saying that he's put incredible teams around Dak Prescott, but he's no longer going to be able to do that for Dak to get paid, essentially, right? So Dak's now going to be in a position where he's not going to have the talent around him? What did you do?
You know, Molly, I think that you did a great job of trying to translate that. You know what that felt like? That felt like when you're watching the UFC and a Brazilian fighter wins and they bring in the translator, and the Brazilian fighter talks for a long time, and the translator goes, "He's very happy to be here." That's what.
But did you feel like, RC, the question is, are you buying what Jerry's saying? But I just need you to break it down for me one more question because I can't help it. I felt like that was a low-key shot at Dak in some capacity.
Well, one thing he said that was puzzling was he thought that there was more growth for Dak. Dak is what he's going to be. Last year, Dak was a top 3 MVP candidate. Last year, Dak was the quarterback that led his team to the NFC East Championship. He's not going to be more than that.
Yeah.
There is no watching him play this year and saying to yourself, I'm more sure of who Dak Prescott is than I was a year ago.
Yeah.
To me, you're saying you're comfortable moving on from Dak Prescott. You're comfortable with Dak Prescott being an unrestricted free agent. There's no trade clause, right? And there's also no opportunity to tag Dak Prescott. So you're saying is we're going to let him test the market the same way you would do a Kirk Cousins, the same way we've seen that throughout his career. So to me, it is almost Jerry Jones's admission that Dak is a good quarterback, but Dak can't win us a Super Bowl. And if he can't win us a Super Bowl, I'm going to stop building teams around him. Because when you look at what this team has done this offseason, it's a fireable offense for any GM.
No question.
To not add any pieces, to not get Dak's deal done, to not work on getting CeeDee Lamb's deal done, and to lose the starters that you have lost along with the defensive coordinator, you're not trying to build a team that can compete along with having a lame duck head coach.
Well, listen, he's been the owner of the Cowboys, and in the last 29 years, they have not played an NFC title game. That's all you need to know. 3 decades, he has not played an NFC title game. And name me another owner in the sport, in football, where the owner holds a press conference the day before the draft. I don't want to hear from Jerry Jones. If I'm a Cowboy fan, I don't want to hear from him. I'm not interested. And listen, the problem that the Cowboys have is the Cowboys are trying to win a Super Bowl, paying a quarterback $55 million a year, who's the 12th or 13th best quarterback in the league. Yeah. I was looking at it the other day. We love Stroud. You got, Burrow, and you got Mahomes, and you got Allen. You got to put Aaron Rodgers back in the mix. Certainly, you have to, Lamar Jackson. Yes. Cousins. You can make an argument. Stafford, Love, Goff. I mean, go on and on and on. So you're trying to win a championship with a quarterback who, if I'm not mistaken, can somebody look it up for me? Is he making $54 million a year?
He's a $55.4 million cap hit.
So the
second
cap,
in the league behind Deshaun Watson.
What is the cap? About 250, 230? What's the number?
It went up a ton this year. It went up $230
million.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. We are paying a quarterback who never wins in the playoffs. We're paying a quarterback $55 million a year to be the quarterback for a team that's a fifth of your payroll, for crying out loud. With an owner who all he likes to do is do press conferences, who's had a list of coaches. Should I give them to you? Dave Campo, Wade Phillips, Chan Gailey. I love Jason Garrett. He had a job there for life. Let's be honest, 9, 10 years. And Mike McCarthy is not Tom Landry. I mean, and he fired Jimmy Johnson. How about he look at himself and says, you know what, I'm the reason why we stink. I've been here for 3 decades. We've won nothing. I had Jimmy Johnson's Hall of Fame coach. Took forever to put the Ring of Honor stuff around him. We fire him. I gave Prescott a fortune. He's not that great. So how about him taking a couple of hits once in a while? He's done a lousy job at the ownership situation.
Jerry Jones, my buddy, has done a horrible job this offseason.
My buddy.
Horrible. My buddy, my Libra buddy. Horrible. Dereliction of duty. Now, I don't know. All I know is that they go out to drink and they have lunch and they have dinner. I don't know anything else that the front office for the Dallas Cowboys have done this offseason. And let's just go through the names because I got the names here, okay? You lost the left tackle in Tyron Smith, okay? You lost Gallup. You lost Pollard. You lost 2 defensive ends, including Dante Fowler. You lost 2 defensive tackles, including Jonathan Hankins. You lost Stephon Gilmore. You don't remember. Diggs got hurt.
Yep.
So he's coming back, but he's coming back from a devastating season-ending injury, okay? And you lost Stephon Gilmore because you lost Jerron Kearse as the safety spot as well. So you lost all of that stuff. You missed out on getting Derrick Henry, and I'm big on that one. That's the big one to me. And here's the reason why. Derrick Henry helps you in a multitude of ways, not just running the football, not just being a bell cow, but also taking the ball out of the hands of Dak Prescott a little bit, so you don't put the pressure on him to have to make plays for you. Not to mention moving the chains so the defense they don't have to come and save the day because we know they weren't capable of doing that. Now, you got to sign CeeDee Lamb. You probably should sign Micah Parsons instead of waiting. And obviously, you got to take care of Dak Prescott. I don't know what the hell the Dallas Cowboys are doing. You lost your defensive coordinator who's not a head coach in the nation's capital, all right, and Dan Quinn. I'm just looking at them right now, and I'm saying, damn, I know I like to troll y'all, but what I resent is that you're making it too easy. I really, really need you to make it suspenseful. I really need you to be able to lie to the football fans out there in Dallas and make them believe you got a chance before you plummet.
No.
Nobody believes that right now. We're looking at what they're doing, and we're saying, this is not good enough. We know from Jump Street this ain't gonna be good enough, and I resent that. I like to be.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. Like every offseason, you should set a list of priorities. And in setting that list of priorities, the list should be set by how do we get closer to winning a championship. The Dallas Cowboys have done none of those things. And so I agree with Doggy in this. Like every time we hear Jerry Jones speak, nothing he says matters because we're looking at your inactivity in the offseason. We're looking at you not fielding a team that has an opportunity to win the NFC. And every year for the last 3 decades, we've sat here and analysts have sat here and we've talked about what the Dallas Cowboys have done to move closer to that. And I agree with you. Every year it at least feels like they tried. And now in the year that Jerry Jones says that he is all in, he's done absolutely nothing. And then when asked why he didn't do anything, he says it's because I believe there's more growth I need to see out of my quarterback. He said, and then he said that he's an option quarterback. He brought it back to 1995, Tommy Frazier in Nebraska. We don't know if he's going to give the dive. We don't know if he's going to pitch it. We don't know if he's going to keep it. Right. I believe it's because they don't know, Stephen A.
So, is Jerry Jones the problem there?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever ignored the fact that Jerry Jones's decision-making as a GM and as an owner has played into the inability to win championships. But the Dallas Cowboys aren't the only team that hasn't won a Super Bowl in the last 30 years. Right. They're the only team that we talk about this much. They're the only team that continues to make headline. And they're also the team.
But they've also been in position to.
Well, let me say this. Come
on. You don't think so?
Because you brought this up before.
Dan's caught it.
Let me educate the public about something here. Remind the audience, the average NFL team is worth more than $5 billion. The Dallas Cowboys are worth over $9 billion. Mm-hmm. The Dallas Cowboys have been absolute masters, spanning back to the 60s at stealing headlines. They made sure they're the ones that's going to be playing on Thanksgiving Day. We still ask why you got to play every Thanksgiving Day? But it makes sense because obviously where they go, ratings go. Even when they stunk up the joint, the ratings are there, so we get it. And why do we not talk about Jerry Jones? Let me tell everybody in the world why we don't talk about Jerry Jones. The same reason we don't talk about most owners, because they ain't firing themselves. Usually when we're talking about an executive, we're saying, what the hell are you doing? It's time for a change. But we can't do that. How do we know that? Do you think that Knicks fans, maybe not at this particular moment because things are going well, but do you think that Knicks fans, how many years we wanted to get rid of Dolan? But you know what? You ain't going nowhere because he ain't firing himself.
But you don't need to fire yourself, but you could delegate those responsibilities to someone more competent.
He has tried to delegate those things.
I'm not
His
saying,
son.
No, Molly's going in a different direction than I'm going. I'm simply saying, yeah, he could delegate the responsibility. But the point is, the reason why you don't lament but so much when it comes to him because you know you can do nothing about it. It's futile because he's not going to relegate himself. He's not going to do it. Yeah. Just like you doing radio for years with Mike and the Mad Dog. How many times you go crazy about something George Steinbrenner did it, but most of us loved it. You understand? Like George Steinbrenner wasn't going, oh, George Steinbrenner, he needs to shut up. He needs to delegate some responsibility to other people. He doesn't need to be so hands-on, so heavy. And guess what? He ignored it. I don't give a damn. Derek Jeter, I don't want to. Listen, man, you partying tonight? Don't you need to be at the ballpark right there? Don't I need to be doing? They made it into a damn commercial for crying out loud because George Steinbrenner didn't give a damn. And it ain't about the name on the back of the jersey, about the name on the front of the jersey. And oh, by the way, Ryan Clark, you gonna play for the Yankees?
Shave your face.
Shave your face. Ain't no face. Think about that. But you know what? He didn't care. And we lamented it, but ultimately we ended up shutting the hell up. You know why?
They won.
Because it wasn't going to change, but they won in the 90s. They wasn't that way in the 80s,
right?
But they won in the 90s. I'm just saying, owners, you don't talk about them but so much because you know it's nothing you can do.
I think the other part of it is, too, though, you're talking about some of the rules and regulations of how you're supposed to move around the building. Jerry Jones makes decisions that actually affect the play on the field.
Right.
And I do believe that's why, it's to Mad Dog's point, he has to consider himself a part of the problem. And it's also okay to bring him up as a part of the problem because even if he's not going to fire himself, he has to realize that he's as much to do with their inability to win a championship as anybody is a part of the organization. And I'm just saying,
talk about him all day. Talk about him all because he deserves it, no doubt. He's making those decisions. But he's not going away.
Well, they're not going to win it.
There you go. I know that. I do know that. He's not going away.
So, Mad Dog, what's the answer then?
I'll tell you my first answer. I'm letting Prescott walk. He's not going to be my quarterback. I'm not spending $60 million on him. He's the 12th best quarterback in the league. And you can argue 10, 11, 12. He's in that category. I'm not spending $60 million on the 10th, 12th best quarterback. I'll spend it on Mahomes. I'll spend it on Rodgers. I'll spend it on Burrow.
But if you have nobody to spend it on, Doggy, are you willing to get worse than him at the quarterback
I'm going to have. That's the good point. I'm going to have to suck it up for a while until I get somebody else who's cheaper. And I let Cooper Rush play for a little while, who served a couple years ago. He played decently. He's a decent backup. And then I will spread the money around, and I'll have. When you are paying the quarterback 1/4 or 1/5 of your salary cap, and the quarterback is not a quote-unquote Hall of Famer, and he isn't. You're in big trouble.
I will say this. I'll say this probably. You know this better than me. There are members, even members of the Dallas Cowboys, and obviously guys in the league, not specifically about Prescott, but lament what quarterbacks are getting paid. Yeah. Because it's automatic that these guys get this amount of money, the Daniel Jones of the world.
How significant is the difference?
It's very significant.
It's very significant.
And they're very offended.
By it.
But why is that? Why are they getting
because coaches and them will tell you that, you know what, if our quarterback is right, this is what he could do for the franchise. So because of that, this is where you need to invest your money, and the owners have bought into that, and the league is bought into that because look at the extreme.
But you need a line, you need weapons, you need a defense.
It's also too. It's because if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance.
That's right.
And that no team wants to take a stand and say just because you're up next, that doesn't mean you should be paid the most. Patrick Mahomes should be the highest paid quarterback in the league every single day, every single year until he retires.
Right.
But a team won't step up and say no.
It's setting the market. Yeah,
that's the problem.
You're right. And it's just based on
and that's why
timing, not talent.
That's exactly timing.
It needs to be talent,
Book
not
it now.
timing.
Next quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, Shedeur Sanders. And that is what's going to happen.
You want to make it worth more than $9 billion?
Colorado, Deion's kid.
Deion said there's certain places he will not go. Why not let him go home?
Fair. He's been taking a lot of punishment. They got to save him. Good Lord. He was sacked about 52 times last season. It got so bad that Deion pulled the Saints. I got to look out for him. He's still my son. I mean, I know I'm a football coach, but he's my son, too. I got to protect him.
All right.